2 weeks go by and you become a gorilla. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm very well. Sorry for the missing out last week. It's been a couple of weeks. Sorry to the viewers also.
You know me, man. I don't mind. As long as you give me a heads up, I'm fine with that shit.
What's new with you in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I saw the doctor. Dude, he did like some pressure point shit, like some weird like voodoo shit. And he was like, go. He's like, I think you're getting better.
Wait, what doctor? What doctor? The same doctor?
Yeah, the same guy.
The Indian guy?
Yeah, the Indian guy that barely speaks English. He was like feeling my chest and shit. He's like, yeah, I think you're getting better.
What? No, okay. So he was trying to test if your kidneys were enlarged, I guess, by poking you?
I don't know. He just was feeling me because he felt me last time. And
Wait, I don't understand what's going on.
He felt me the first time, and he said he thinks I have a blockage, whatever that means. Then he felt me the second time, and he said, I think you're getting better.
Wait. Who is this guy? You're talking about the nephrologist, the kidney doctor?
His name is Dr. Hart.
Why does he talk? Why does he talk about blockages? What does he mean? What kind of blockage?
That's what he told me. He thought
like chi, like your energy is blocked.
No, he said like I had a kidney blockage or something. I have no idea what that means.
Okay, this is ridiculous. So you didn't listen to me about checking out the Mayo Clinic, which is over in
way too far for how good I feel.
Okay, so you went back to the same doctor. He didn't.
Because he gave me my prescriptions.
But he also reviewed your blood test with you, right?
Yeah, he didn't seem concerned.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I asked him, I said, well, how bad would my numbers have to get before you're like, oh, you need dialysis? He was like, I don't go by numbers. I go by how the clients feel.
Okay, that's a little ridiculous, but I've been reading up also, so I just wanted to make some notes. So generally, the diagnostic manual tells them that if the eGFR is below 15 or below 15 to 30, then specifically below 15, they diagnose kidney failure. Below that, they have different numbers. But the thing is, the eGFR, so the eGFR is supposed to be your glomerular filtration rates. It's supposed to mean how much fluid your kidneys filter in a period of time. Yeah. But they use creatinine as a proxy for it. So it's not very accurate. So maybe that's why he's a bit averse to making decisions just based on your eGFR from creatinine.
He looked at my ankles. He was feeling my back and my chest. Yeah, he was like, you look a lot better.
That's ridiculous.
Dude, he's a fucking idiot, dude, because the first time I went in there, I hadn't had a haircut in like 5 months. And I looked like a fucking bum. And then I went in there with like a fresh haircut and shit, like trimmed up. He was like, you're looking healthier.
Oh my God.
But he was happy that I got off all the drugs except dude, you want to hear something else he did said? I couldn't even respond to him. He was like, he goes, if you come off testosterone in 3 months, your levels will come back to normal. I'm like, you can't tell me that. Like, you don't know if I'm going to recover. He's like, if you come off everything in 3 months, your levels will be back.
He's bargaining with you like you would bargain with a child. Like,
yeah, he was happy. I came off the Deca and the Anabar and I'm just on tests now.
Well, we have a lot of things to talk about, I guess. So one thing is you went off everything else and you stayed on the beta blocker.
Yeah, I'm on all the blood pressure meds. I just came off all the other drugs except testosterone. All
right, because of the anxiety or because you got that second reading of the creatinine?
I just started feeling a little toxic.
Oh, you were feeling it, huh?
A little toxic, yeah. So I said, fuck that. I came off.
So apparently I'm going to wait for Beau. By the way, Beau's joining us in a bit. He just got the email. But maybe I should wait till Beau joins. Because I wanted to talk about this thing called uremia. I don't really know how to pronounce it. But that's the thing that they call everything that builds up in your blood uremia or something like this. And so apparently that stuff that builds up in your blood is what hey, Beau.
Hey, Leo. How's it going? Have you guys already started or you're just talking?
Yeah, we're recording.
We're just chatting, but we're recording.
All right. Because I wanted to look something up real quick on my phone. I wanted to get my my numbers from when I was admitted right before I started dialysis. I wanted to go into my chart and get that info.
Well, you can if you'd. Do you want to take some time to do so? You don't have to. It doesn't have to be so detailed.
That's fine. No, I don't have to do it. I mean, I just thought that, you may want to see it, but that's fine.
I thought I was going to see you repping a stringer tank top.
No, man. I'm out of shape right now. If I would have had 2 months to prepare, I would have done it.
Hey, Beau, where's your name from? It's a French name, huh?
Not well, it is, but I'm actually not French. My mother is Mexican and Polish, and my dad is German and British.
How did they pick the name Beau? It means beautiful, right? It's the root of
they
beautiful.
Just liked it. They just liked it, and they liked the spelling. But yeah, there's no actual French in my ancestry.
Yeah.
And I did have an uncle named Beau, but it was spelled B-O. So they kind of, they kind of named me after him, but wanted to change the spelling.
So how did you and Bostin get started talking?
Oh man, we've been talking now for like 6 years. Actually, he wrote me up and was very nice, very complimentary. And he wanted to know my cycles. He was like, hey man, how are you? What do you do? What do you but,
he was one of the only ones, Leo, that's ever been fully honest with me, 100%. I'm telling you, he's the only one. I'm not kidding you.
But, I got to tell you, man, like I told you, Leo, like my first impression was when I saw Boston's first videos, I was like, man, this guy's out of his fucking mind. He's in a studio apartment loading syringes up, shooting synthol. And I'm like, this dude, because before that, it was just very taboo. Nobody had done that. And, as you know, he got a lot of shit for it. But when we started talking, man, I mean, he's really a great guy. And, that was like back in 2012, 13. And he's learned a lot since then. I
appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
Beau, how did you get into bodybuilding?
I grew up in a very small town. I'm from West Virginia. And there were no bodybuilders there. I mean, the gym that we had was very makeshift, like to do an incline dumbbell. We just had a flat bench. So you would have to take one side of the bench and set it up on the platform of the hack squat. So it was at an angle. And that's how we did incline dumbbell. So it was very, very basic. And, I would buy the magazines and I always worked out. I mean, after school, I would go to the gym every day, train for 2 hours, totally overtraining, 6 days a week. And the problem was I was eating like 2 meals a day. I had no idea about nutrition because
you froze.
That as far as what you're doing at that point. And when I got to college, I met some guys who were more advanced, and I started learning from them. And as soon as I started eating, things just took off. I mean, within a year, like I'm not bragging, but like they were like huge to me when I met them. Within a year of eating, I was like bigger than most of them.
Oh, excellent. So you had excellent genetics. Did you compete?
Well, no, I have shitty genetics. I have a very good gym body.
He turned pro. What do you mean? Of course he competed.
Yeah, I don't know much of. I only know Beau from talking to him. Yeah.
He turned pro.
I did win a pro card at the Masters Nationals. But I never looked my best on stage. Like I just like being big. Like I'm a lot more impressive in a tank top walking around because I'm 5'11", very wide. I have a very big frame. So I look a lot better like in the gym with a pump or just walking anywhere compared to actually being on stage.
How big were you at your biggest? Because I saw some of your, like you're saying, in your tank top ones. You're huge.
But wow. It sounds retarded because I was obsessed with weight, but I rarely weighed myself because, like, say I weighed myself when I was 312, I would be so happy, but then I would avoid the scale because I thought, if I've lost weight, I would get depressed. So I would just go with, okay, I'm 312. So I would go months without weighing myself, so I know it makes no sense.
I think that's how a lot of bodybuilders have the crazy 350 numbers, is that once they reach 350 and then they stop weighing themselves, right? It's probably what it is.
But when I did that, I actually had like another month of hard training. And that's when I came down with my initial, that's like when my numbers shot up, and it was kind of like the beginning of the end for me as far as getting sick. But I wish I would have weighed myself because I probably did go up from that point because I was really big. I mean, the odd thing is I looked my absolute best when I was sick.
Really?
Like when my creatinine at that time, I mean, was only 5 to 6, but that's when I looked my best.
Interesting. So did your creatinine, how did you know that it was rising? Did you feel bad or you checked?
I can feel it. I know my body just, from training itself. But once you go through it initially, this all started in 2004. And after it happens to you once, you know immediately. Every time I've had like a setback, I knew it was coming.
Really?
Before the symptoms, I could feel it. Yeah.
What do you feel?
Without a doubt. I was right every time.
What do you feel when that's coming? You're not talking about the uremia, the toxicity, right?
It's fatigue, but not the type of fatigue where, oh, you had a bad night's sleep and you want to go lay down. It's more like you don't want to move. Like you don't want to, like you're on the sofa and like, oh my God, I got to go piss. And you sit there and debate it. Like, oh, can I just wait? And like you put it off.
Wow.
And you finally go like,
wow.
And you're not motivated. Like I know, like I remember, I got sick originally in 2004, but in 2009, I kind of had like my first flare up and I knew it was coming because it was on a Tuesday. I always train legs on Tuesday and I didn't want to train. I ordered a pizza and in my mind, I was just like, this is wrong. Like I'm sick, it's coming back. Yeah.
You're
that's kind of how I felt, man. My motivation was gone. Like I didn't even want to work out. It was weird. It's
hard because I mean you can try to push yourself, but it's just not there. I mean you can't move. Like I don't even want to say like you're lethargic. I mean it's just like you don't want to move. You don't want to do anything. So going to the gym to train is it's not out of the question. I did it, and I know, and I have friends who have done it too. But it's just you really got to force it.
Do you think that's because of the buildup of those toxins? What I've discovered, they're called uremic toxins.
You're poison. You're toxic. Yeah.
That's why I came off the drugs. Though I was telling you, I just felt like I was like that. My body wasn't filtering out the toxicity of the drugs, and I don't know. Like when I'm just on TRT, I feel fine, but when I add stuff in, I start to feel weird a little bit.
The interesting thing is that I felt these feelings before. I felt like I was listening to your story, and I didn't feel like I didn't want to move, but I felt crazy lethargy sometimes, and that's why I always thought I had something going on, but nothing ever came out of it.
And it progresses. Like that feeling in 2004 was bad, but not unbearable. But at the very end, it was like. I couldn't even walk my dog. My wife, Miliani, would have to go walk my dog for me. Like I couldn't. There were times where I couldn't. Was that when your numbers were like at 22? 22, yeah.
Ooh.
So when you first checked them, what were they at in 2004?
Well, dude, I had to
something like 1 or 2.
I'm sure Bostin told you his experience with the doctor. He went and saw a doctor as a 2-star rating.
Wait, yeah, can you? Yeah, I hope you. Could you tell Bostin not to go? He was just telling me a doctor was doing pressure point stuff on him. He just went to. Wait, can you tell Beau? Did you tell Beau that story?
I didn't tell him. So the last time I went to the doctor, this a couple of days ago.
Leo, I quit listening when he told me the doctor had a 2-star rating.
So he was doing pressure points on me, like filling my chest and my kidney area, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think you're improving."
No, and he told him he had a blockage before, and he thinks he's improving now.
Well, I had a bad experience like that because I was 29 when this all happened, and like Bostin, you think you're invincible. You're doing things in the gym that are just not normal. You're huge. You feel like you're on top of the world. Like you feel like nothing can hurt you, and I was dieting at the time, but I'd only been dieting for 4 weeks. So it's not like the food was low. I shouldn't have been tired. I shouldn't have been weak, but my strength just dropped like dramatically. Things that I could do a week before, all of a sudden I couldn't do. And you try to convince yourself, right? Like you always try to say, oh, it's the diet, but it's not after 4 weeks. So you just try to look for an excuse. I kept on. maybe like another week later, my leg, I'm not sure which leg it was at first, started swelling, and it came on fast. I mean, it started at the foot and went up to the calf. And I could put my shoe on, but I had to leave it unlaced. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, this is not normal. I called I didn't have a primary doctor. I had no baseline blood work. I hadn't been to the doctor in years because I had no reason to. Mm-hmm. So I just picked a doctor that was in my program and who was close by, being lazy. I just figured, oh, this guy's close by. I'll go see him. The dude did no blood work. He said, oh, you probably got a blood clot. That's a blood clot. So he sent me for an ultrasound, which came back negative, and no blood work. And he didn't follow up. And he did take my blood pressure, and it wasn't crazy. It was 145. But I had been dieting my blood pressure was probably higher than that normally because I'd been dieting for 4, I was eating clean. My body weight was a little lighter. And I'm sure I had high blood pressure, whether it was 145 or above, for years. Because I was very heavy for a long time. And he told me not to worry about the blood pressure. He said, you're a big guy. That's fine for you. I wouldn't worry about it. What do I know? I'm like, well, shit, this guy's the doctor. I'm good. I'm going back to the gym. I'm going to do this show. And so, maybe like a week later, the other leg starts swelling. I'm like, okay, now something's really wrong. And I just happened to be online. And I don't know if you used to go on Chad Nichols' board, Muscle Mayhem.
I did, yeah.
Tom Prince just happened to have a post on there describing what he went through. So I'm reading it, and I'm going through the checklist, and I'm like, well, Jesus, I got everything he's talking about. Like, this is what's happening to me, everything that he described. So I called the primary doctor, and I said, my kidneys are failing. I'm pretty sure my kidneys are failing. No, your kidneys aren't failing. You're fine. He said, just check back with me. I went to the ER. I hung up with him, went straight to the ER.
Good job.
And they did blood work. They came in. I took because I knew I was going to be there for a while. I didn't want to miss the meal. I remember I took 50 grams of Isopure and some olive oil with me into the ER. And they asked me what it was, and they came back from the blood work, and the doctor was like, that's the last protein. He's dialysis soon, your kidneys are failing. And my creatinine was only 2.7. But the problem was I was spilling 26 grams of protein. And that's just, anything over 3 is really bad. Like I know Flex Wheeler, when his kidneys failed, he was at 17. So 26 is insane. And they kept me for a couple of days, which I was going to mention this to Bostin. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to want to do it, but like if he were to go to the ER now and they hooked him up to an IV, he would get his numbers down a little bit. They're not going to go down to 1.3. They're not going to go down to normal. He may be able to get him down to like, what are they, Boston? 6?
6.35.
Yeah, like he may be able to get down to like 5. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just going to flush you and have you on a specific diet. So I stayed there for a couple of days. As soon as I came out, I did the biopsy. I was diagnosed with FSGS. And
which is,
remember, I had no idea what it is.
And just for the audience, I wanted to say that's focal. Is it called focal? It's glomerulosclerosis. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, yeah. Which is also what, just for the audience to know, what a lot of other bodybuilders have been finding when they ultrasound their kidneys.
Flex Wheeler, Brad Hollabaugh, Derek Anthony, Scott Klein, the big dude from Germany who had oil in his arms.
Marcus Rule.
No. He's healthy. That guy's going to live. He's going to outlive everybody.
Is he really? He's healthy?
Yeah. Sean Davis is a guy from England who had it.
Yeah. I know you're talking about.
The only person I know of, Tom Prince has FSGS. I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but Don Long was born with a condition where he only was born with one kidney.
Yep.
So his situation is a little different.
Interesting.
But every other bodybuilder I know has FSGS. I have two good friends who were both well over 300 pounds for a decade. They both have it. They've had transplants.
Mike Rice also has FSGS.
Mike Rice.
Yeah.
Even the red meat kid.
Which one? Oh God. Jay Buck?
Yeah.
So you were mentioning something earlier, Beau, which is that you had a lot of protein. You were expelling a lot of protein, although your creatinine wasn't that high, right? So that being
creatinine.
Is that what you said?
If I wasn't spilling that much protein, I don't think I would have had that type of problems. I don't think I would have had all that water retention, all the toxin buildup, that urea buildup, that ammonia smell. So for me initially, that was the main thing. 2.7 isn't good, but they're not going to freak out over that,
An interesting thing I found out recently is that the use of blood pressure medications once you're in chronic kidney disease doesn't slow down the progression of chronic kidney disease unless you actually, no, not that. It doesn't. I think it doesn't slow it down. 1 second. Let me actually check. It doesn't slow down the progression of kidney disease unless you have proteinuria. So if your protein in your urine is somewhat controlled, even if you have poor kidney function, the blood pressure control won't slow the progression of the disease.
Okay.
So apparently proteinuria is a very important metric in general. So what did you do next?
That's actually what my doctor went over with me. She was telling me that I was still spilling large amounts of protein, but the medications I was on was kind of slowing down the process of the because as it spills, it's damaging the glomerula.
Exactly.
So medicine was kind of slowing that process down. It's still spilling, but you're just kind of like lessening the damage.
What did you do next? Did they offer you the transplant, or they offered you a dialysis?
Well, after that experience with that really shitty doctor, I got very lucky because you know how it is. Most doctors won't accept or won't admit if they don't know something, or they just they kind of act like they're God. They know everything.
Yeah.
I went to they referred me to I was living in Jersey at the time, and they referred me to a nephrologist who was a local guy. And man, I can't thank this guy enough. I went to meet him, and he was like, look, I have no experience with FSG. This was that, and you're a normal patient.
Wait, you cut off for a second, Beau. You cut off for a second. We didn't hear we just cut off when you met the doctor. And the second doctor.
He told me that he had no experience with FSGS. And he said, you're not like the normal type of patient. He said, you're 290 pounds. There's a lot of things going on here that don't really apply to like the average person. And he said, I'm not really comfortable treating you. I want you to go see this lady at Columbia Presbyterian.
Interesting.
And he sent me to my doctor, who I met her in 2004, and I've been with her to this day. And but if it wasn't for that guy doing that, like I really give him a lot of respect for admitting he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah. Speaking of doctors, I'll just assert my own small story. I spent years trying to get blood pressure medication prescribed to myself. I have congenital hypertension for, no apparent reason. And I had, 180 over like 120 or 130 blood pressure readings all the time in my early 20s. We would go into doctor's offices. And whenever I would see this, first I would ask, is it
on? Like that's when you were on, or just...
Yeah, at the time there were times where I was on, where it was high, but there were also times where I was off. So it was just a continuous thing. And when I was off for years on end, I would still have high blood pressure, but it'd be like 150 over something. But every time I would go into doctor's office and try to get on an ARB specifically, I'd already researched them. They would deny me, saying you're young, or it's white coat syndrome or whatever. Even if I said I tested it at home too. So, I could have not gotten, I had to order them from India and then using our favorite company, All Day Chemist, because otherwise I wouldn't. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have used the blood pressure medications when I was using AAS. So I could have ended up in the same situation as you guys.
I saw you talking about that. So a lot of nephrologists don't even know that.
Don't even know what?
I've seen you talk about the right blood pressure medications to use, go with the diabetes. Because there have been several times where I've been in the ER for unrelated things. And you know, when they see you, they send the whole round of doctors in, and the nephrologists come in. Why are you on this? Who prescribed this to you? Why are you? And I'm just like, I don't even, you know, I deal with
that's how my doctor is.
Yeah.
It's a bureaucracy.
My doctor, if I told him I was on no blood pressure meds, he would say, stay on none of them. He's like, and yeah, he only wants me to stay on them because I've been taking them.
Interesting. So,
where are you at now, Bostin?
Well, I saw him the other day, and he just wants me to come back in another month for blood work.
I've tried to bring it up like 5 times, man, but you really need to go. Leo knows it too.
Yeah, let's
Mayo Clinic.
Yeah, let's take a detour from the conversation and let's do what are they called when you try to convince someone in a group?
Intervention. We should have brought his mom and dad on here.
Yeah, but think about this though. If you were feeling as good as I am and you were feeling fine, would you really go 4 hours to a doctor? I don't know.
I was 315 pounds on top of the world with a creatinine of 6. I was dying inside. I looked great.
But you felt like shit, right?
I didn't feel good, but it was worth how good I looked. I mean, I could deal with it.
No, Bostin. So you really have to. You have to at least have a doctor that's. Don't go to a bad one. He keeps going to the bad one. It's not that he doesn't go.
I have a PPO plan, so I can't go to just anyone. You know.
Yeah, but you can call. It doesn't hurt to call and check. You just call.
No, I got a referral. I got a referral to a guy in Tampa, but I am going to give this guy 1 more month. I just want to see if
it started in December.
I know that's ridiculous. I'm gonna give him another month just in case my kidneys aren't done. You know, if there's any remnant inflammation, I could cut off.
He barely speaks English.
But another thing I was telling Bostin, I have a friend who lives in a small town in Michigan. He went through this, and they have him on prednisone after the transplant, which used to be very common. Now they're kind of getting away from it. I don't take prednisone.
Long term.
Yeah, long term.
Oh, okay.
The guy's miserable, you know, he's all blown up and just very unhappy. And that's an old school way of doing it. And that's what happens when you get stuck with a shitty doctor. They're not on top of the latest research. They don't know the newer methods. And I just hate to see Bostin have to go through that.
Yeah.
I
got that pentoxifillin coming in, so it should be here any day.
But what do they prescribe now? Do they prescribe tumor necrosis factor alpha blockers, like specific inflammatory modulation drugs as opposed to glucocorticoids?
I'm not on a ton of medication. The main 2 are Prograf and cellcept. And those 2 pretty much everybody takes. And those are the 2 anti-rejection meds. And then for blood pressure right now, they kept me on the Dialysis, and they did switch me to amlodipine, which I don't like. I feel like it makes me. I mean, I've had a fat face for 20 years.
Yeah.
You're just saying that now because I brought up that side effect.
Even when I'm lean, I hold a lot of water in my face. But I think the amlodipine does that.
What is it? Is it a calcium channel blocker?
Yeah, calcium channel.
Oh, yeah. It's I'm taking
but I asked them,
10 grams. 10 milligrams.
You remember when I asked you and you were like, "Oh no side effects," and you're like, "Now that I think of it, I think."
But now I started looking at it because every picture after the transplant, my face changed. It's got to be the amyloid.
But you didn't tell us. How did you get that? So how long did you wait till you got the transplant from 200004? And then how did you organize it? Did a relative give it to you?
I came off, I don't know if you want to hear the whole thing, but I came off cold turkey, no TRT, no PCT, and my numbers improved. I went back down to 1.3.
Oh, wow.
My creatinine went down to 1.3. I quit spilling protein, and but I was just miserable. You know, I knew I was going to give myself 1 year. I quit training completely, and I was going to give myself 1 year to let my kidneys heal. And then after that, I was going to go back. So everything returned to normal. I truly think since I caught it early that say if I never would have went back to bodybuilding, I think my kidneys would be fine now. I don't think it would have came back. I was at 1.3 creatinine, you know, but
which is what just for the audience to know, that's what we were trying to convince Bostin to do originally. Everyone was trying to convince him to just quit everything and try to just keep those kidneys.
I've always been honest with him, and he knows that. But when I told him I went off cold turkey, he even came back and said, "Did you really?" I think even he was questioning me because, I mean, you know, Bostin knows my story. I mean, okay, I've done some crazy shit, but initially I did come off, but it was because I just wanted to heal. I mean, I was 29. I figured I'll sacrifice 1 year, heal the kidneys, and then I'll go back and try to do it.
And then what happened?
When I started back, well, I went down to 210 pounds. I quit training. I'm not a big eater naturally. I ate like 2 meals a day. And it was insane, man. I've had 3 times in my life where I had to start over, like once for a pec tear, once for this, and another time after the transplant, but where I basically started from scratch. But this first transformation, I went from 210 in July. And I remember by that October, because I went to watch the Olympia, I was 280 3 months later. And my creatinine went straight back to 2.5 in 3 months.
But not to 5, interesting.
Back to 2.5 immediately.
Were you on blood pressure medication?
Wait, was it on 5 or 2.5 originally? Sorry.
2.5.
Oh, so it went back to the same. Okay.
Yeah, but it was 2.7 when I went to the hospital originally, the very first time.
Got it.
Went down to 1.3. And then when I started back a year later, it was 2.5. And it stayed there.
What were you saying, Bostin? I interrupted you.
No, I asked him if he was on blood pressure medication when his creatinine went up.
Yeah, I stayed on the same. The day that I met Dr. Kunis, she started me on Diovan, Altase, and the methoxyfilling. Excuse me. And I stayed on that from 2004 all the way up to the transplant.
Okay, so you never came off that. Okay.
Interesting.
Well, all the way up to dialysis, rather.
I bet you I'm in a state like that right now. Because the last time, like when I was muscular, I was like, the last time I was muscular, I think my eGFR was a bit higher, but it dipped to at one point to 60. And it was probably at like 70 or 80. But the thing is, you know, I stopped weightlifting and I lost the weight and everything. Now the numbers look great. But who knows, you know? That's what I'm always telling Bostin. I was talking to him on the phone also. He was suspicious that I had a kidney problem. So he was like, you never had something. So I don't know. I could potentially also.
It's really, listen, if you have any type of kidney damage and you are dead serious and want it to improve, the best thing you can do is get as light as I don't care pound, you know, light. Load come off everything. Even other drugs, any medication, limit everything that you put in your body. And that's really the only way you're going to do it. I mean, I know there are people who aren't willing to do that, you know, they're going to still go back. I mean, you know, of course, but if you do want to improve your health and that's your main concern, that's what you have to do.
So this is, I wanted to ask you, Beau, what would be you just gave your advice to Bostin, I guess, if you wanted to save those kidneys. What would be your advice to Bostin if you wanted to compete one more time? Well, because this is the problem with Bostin. You start talking to him on the phone and you tell him, listen, you should get a transplant quickly. And he tells you, well, I got to compete again. So I don't want to burn someone else's kidney. So I got to burn my own. So you end up in this situation where you can't really give him advice because he's like, I just want to ruin these kidneys. So what would your advice be on the second case also?
It's really hard for me because for me to tell somebody not to do something is like the ultimate hypocrite. How am I going to tell somebody, hey, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. If Bostin wants to improve his health and live as long as possible, he needs to do everything I just said. Because he's at 6, you know, like me, I was at 2.7 and with that year break, I was able to get it down, but 6 is a different story. I mean, there is a chance. There's a powerlifting guy. I'm not familiar with him, so I'm not going to say his name. I don't know him personally, but I have mutual friends of him. And huge guy, competed in actually powerlifting and bodybuilding. And he was at 6 or 7 and was right on the verge of needing dialysis. And the guy, I mean, you wouldn't even recognize him. I mean, he probably lost like over 100 pounds. And I think his creatinine now like is around 3. So he's not healthy, but he has been able to avoid dialysis. You know, I mean, that you could try that, but yeah, Boston, as far as competing,
I'll pull it down long.
6.
He wants to pull it down long. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if your creatinine's at 6, I mean, honestly, you probably wouldn't make it to the show. You probably die.
What was the one that gave me hope, telling me that Don Long's kidneys, he did a contest rep on dialysis. Do you remember that?
Don Long looked amazing on dialysis.
I contacted Don after he told me that.
What happened with him is his sister wanted to donate, but they want a direct match. So they did the swap program. You know, Leo, where you find the other couple.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that worked out for them, but the kidney didn't last him too long. And he wasn't bodybuilding. It's just, you know, sometimes it happens. The kidney just wasn't good for his body. So he went back on dialysis and he started doing the nocturnal dialysis. And I can't speak from experience because I haven't done nocturnal, but I guarantee you don't feel good on it. You feel better than regular because it's like a highs and lows on dialysis. You know, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So say you do it on Friday, by Sunday morning, you feel like fucking death again because all those toxins are building up in your body. With nocturnal, you're doing it nightly. So you're kind of keeping your blood a little more stable. But Don Long looked incredible. I talked to him. He was competing in Atlantic City in 06. And I talked to him and told him about my situation. And was like, you know, dude, it's great to see you up here doing this. Very nice guy. And if you're on dialysis, you're not going to further hurt your kidney. He wasn't hurting himself. His kidney's gone. He has no kidney. The machine is his kidney. I mean, yeah, you got to keep your potassium in check. You don't want to have a heart attack. There are some things you have to monitor. But it's not like, because he got a lot of shit for that. Like a lot of people were saying, you know, he's reckless. But
No. I didn't think so.
Yeah, how are you going to hurt your kidney when they're already dead?
Nah, it's not. It's actually the opposite. Yeah, unless you had kidneys. But so Bostin basically at this point, his decision is whether he wants to save the ones that he has, which I think he's choosing. Just he's doing it slowly because he hasn't lost all the weight yet. Either to save those, or if he knows they're gone, he's gonna start the nightly dialysis, and then he's just gonna start taking steroids again and try to get big again.
You know what's interesting topic though? Dave Palumbo said that there's no way, but I was scared that the dialysis would filter out the steroids, but Dave said that wouldn't happen.
Well, they'll filter out whatever's in your bloodstream in general.
It'd be a possibility somehow. Why not?
Yeah.
It's filtering, cleaning your blood.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So how about effects?
I mean, I'm sure it's not going to take it all, but I'm sure there's a.
I mean, it's just going to do what your kidney would do, right? It's just going to do what your kidney would do, and your kidney would get rid of some of it too.
Okay, so
because it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't pull the toxins. It also pulls nutrients. Exactly. That's why you feel so depleted after the session.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not like you can't. It'll work. You know.
But you'll still get the effects.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yeah.
Say you shoot 500 milligrams. Say the machine pulls out. I mean, you know, hypothetical 50. You know what I mean? It's not going to pull out all 500. So maybe you're not getting.
And I guess that's what your kidneys would probably do too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
To that extent,
no, maybe not. I mean, they're going to filter something. It's a similar mechanism working.
Yeah.
It's not like they're just going to remove the steroids from you. You know what I mean? But what I wanted to say also, something else I discovered recently was that I always thought that the transplant patients should have higher chances of getting cancers because they're using immunomodulatory drugs to control their immune system. So the immune system will also be killing cancers. So when you control the immune system, you also get higher rates of cancers. So I found the numbers. So transplant patients have a 1.9 to 9.9 greater risk, which means 90% to 990% greater risk of cancer incidence. Most of them happen in the thyroid or the kidneys, or cancers related to the immune system, like sarcomas and lymphomas and stuff like that. But that's an interesting thing to keep watch of. And the second thing is that even that's for transplants, but even people on dialysis also have like a 10 to 30% higher, no, 10 to 90% higher likelihood of getting cancers. which is interesting. The dialysis one means it's probably just because of the toxicity in the body.
Yeah.
The first one is because you're controlling your immune system. The other one's the toxicity. The other thing is that, Boston, I want to tell you this, that uremia, that toxicity in the bloodstream, apparently I've been doing some research. The more of that you have, the quicker the kidneys deteriorate. So basically, the higher your creatinine levels are, as an indication of your bloodstream not being cleaned, the quicker your kidneys will deteriorate. So you can't just sit at a 6 creatinine level, because that itself will make them deteriorate faster. So you need some dialysis just to prevent the kidney from deteriorating.
He was telling me once he hit 6, it wasn't really much longer until his shit just went through the roof.
Just because...
From my understanding, like to go from 3 to 4, it's a little slower, you know, it's going to take you a while. But as the numbers start getting higher, they start jumping quicker.
That could be because of other reasons. But I also mean like there's a causal issue with your blood not being clean, that the toxins in the blood are actually causing deterioration of the kidney also, because there's more pressure on the kidney than to clean the blood. You know what I mean? So the blood gets thicker or harder to clean. So that's why I think it's important for Boston we were always telling him that he had to deal with the inflammation if there's acute inflammation at the kidney also. I found out another thing interesting. Blood pressure, apparently high blood pressure causes acute inflammation in the kidney. It actually causes inflammatory cytokines to go to the kidneys. I had no idea. But the point is, we wanted to check out with Boston 2 things. Number 1 is to lower the inflammation at the kidney. That's why I wanted to go to a doctor in the beginning, just in case there's acute inflammation. And number 2 is to lower the inflammation of the kidney, and then to deal with this urea in the blood, to clean the blood so that it doesn't damage the kidneys further. So I think, Boston, you need to find a better doctor, at least for the second purpose. So he can tell you, hey, if I stay at this creatinine level, will that give me kidney disease just by itself? Like if I go to dialysis 3 times a week, will I get kidney disease at a slower rate?
Yeah, I'm 0 for 3 for doctors, but maybe Beau could ask his doctor if she does the teledoc, because I have teledoc with my insurance. If she takes teledoc, I could maybe do consults with her over the phone, and my insurance would cover it.
Oh, she might also have a recommendation, honestly, for someone in Florida. But you know what you should do, Boston, is you go to your insurance, you call them, you tell them, send me a list of all the nephrologists in Florida that are covered by you. They always do that. So they send you a list, and then we could go through the list together. We could Google.
Yeah, but I would rather call the good ones. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna see this month, and yeah, I mean, the thing that did piss me off, and I was telling Beau, I didn't tell you this, was that the doctor told me, he was like, I will not put you on the transplant list. He was supposed to be, I'm supposed to be eligible for a transplant list if I have 3 tests under 15 GRF. He won't put me on there because he says I'm not since I'm on steroids, I'm not a candidate for a transplant.
Well, you're not on steroids now. So if you go to another person, the medical history. Yeah, but the medical history won't follow you. And just don't tell them you're on testosterone. You're on TRT, so it shouldn't be. They won't be able to know.
Tell them you tried it 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that was it for a short time.
Oh, so you would straight out just tell them?
No, I wouldn't even tell them.
I would tell them as little as possible.
Yeah. In terms of the transplant part,
you can get on a list in several. I don't know if it's like your tri-state area, but you can get on a list in several different states.
It just sucks. You want to be honest. You want to be honest, and you want to tell your doctor shit, but then when you tell them, it's like you're not eligible for a transplant because you're on steroids. It's like,
these doctors you're dealing with, you tell them that
if you give them an excuse to get you out of
bullet, he could go in there with a bullet hole with this idiot doctor with the 2 stars, and they're going to blame it on him using stuff. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I heard Nebraska is only a 6-month wait right now for kidney transplant. It's like the lowest time, but I wonder if they would even let me go that far.
I think Florida is a very long time because of the elderly population.
He said 3 to 4 years.
That's true. Actually, they're a little controlled. They don't give the elderly as much as young people usually. I think
it's up to a certain age. I don't remember what the age is, but there is a cutoff.
He told me currently there's a 3 to 4 year wait.
Yeah, so Boston, just so you know, when you switch medical providers in the US, they often don't send your medical history. So you could go to a new one and not tell them about the steroids and get on the list.
Yeah,
there's no point now. There's no point in telling them. Just let them go by your blood work and take it from there.
Yeah, so if I see another doctor, I guess I just won't mention it.
I mean, I wouldn't.
It sucks because I want to be honest. I want to.
If you see a really good doctor, you have to mention it so that they understand the route, so that they can, you got to. But you got to get on the transplant list also. So maybe you go to 2 different doctors. You go to a bad one, get on the list, and then go to a good one. The good one being the myoclinic.
But biopsy would be a good thing to do. Also.
Yeah.
But your doctor knew you were on stuff, right? And you got on the list, right?
Yeah, I downplayed it, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor can choose not to mention some stuff,
But my situation's different because I didn't have a living or a cadaver donor. Or well, I had a living donor. I didn't have an unknown donor. It was Miliani's, so she, it's a little different if it's a spouse or a family member. They're,
So you were able to get the surgery quite quickly?
Oh my! The evaluation process takes a while. I remember we started January 19th, and we did testing just back and forth, going back and forth to the hospital, and it ended in April. But after the last test, they got us in within 2 weeks. They want you to get in there and get it over with as soon as you're approved.
Yeah. But that's an interesting.
And they're they're so strict. Like they even took her in a room, and I think it's great because I wouldn't want, her to do anything that she felt pressure to, but they even told her look, if you change your mind or if this isn't something you want to do, we'll tell him that you're not compatible. But I think that's great. I wouldn't want her to
I'm glad you told me that.
To do it.
In case a family member asks me again, I'll know that there's an out. I don't need to tell them, I'll go to the hospital.
Yeah. They definitely give them an out.
That's great. So okay, this is good. So thank you, Beau, for telling us your story. It was really insightful. I've never talked to someone actually that went through with a kidney transplant before. It's really insightful. I'm glad also that you agree with me. We were talking, Bostin, on text also, me and Beau, so about pressuring you, but we didn't get to it properly. But I think the decision really, Bostin, at the end of the day will be whether you want to wait this one out or burn this one or get a new one. And if you do know what you want to do, the quicker you make the decision, the better, because the longer you stay with that higher creatinine, the more potential damage you're doing across your body.
Well, let me ask Beau this question before we head out. If you were in my shoes, Beau, would you say you felt better on dialysis, or would you say you felt better while your kidneys were at 5 or 6 creatinine?
Felt like death either way, really. Dialysis is no way to live. I mean, it's just really not. Look, I'm like saying I'm not afraid with anything mental. I never sat in the hospital bed crying. I know that I did this to myself. I take full responsibility. I'm not one of these people that started running around saying I found God or remember when Lyle Zato, Leo, remember Lyle Zato went on all the talk shows and he was like, I never should have done this. And dude, you were a god from doing this. You spent 30 years living your dream. Now you want to go on these talk shows and say it's bad and evil. I just don't believe in that. I knew the consequences. It was worth it to me. I have no regrets. I'd do it again. I spent my 20s, 30s, early 40s doing every day what I love. I mean, my life was a dream. But dialysis is no way to live. You do not want to do it.
So you would rather have your creatinine at 6?
Well, yeah, but it's not realistic to stay there long. Your creatinine is at 6. You're going to end up on dialysis. I'm
saying feeling wise, when you woke up in the morning, how did you feel at 6 or when you were on dialysis compared to when you woke up in the morning with a creatinine 5 or 6?
No, at 6, I was still training. I was over 310 at 6. I was still training.
You still felt better with that high creatinine, the other opposed to dialysis?
I had a lot of symptoms, but
he's trying to find out from you whether. Oh yeah,
I felt better than dialysis. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that because your numbers got worse though when you got on dialysis?
Yeah, 22.
Weird. Yeah.
You can't notice on yourself, but Miliani said my skin was gray. My skin was turning gray. And I hadn't done blood work in a long time because I knew what was going on. What was I going to do? I was just going to keep going until it was over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I called my nephrologist because I was trying to train still, and my electrolytes were so bad I couldn't hold the equipment. And I'd do a couple reps and have to drop the bar because my hands were cramping.
Oh.
So I called her and said, look, is there anything you can prescribe me? Because I can't work out. My cramps are so bad. I can't hold the machines. And she was like, well, you need to go do blood work. It's been a while. And she got the results back. A couple of days later, she called me. She said, where are you? She said, just go to the nearest ER. She said, what are you doing? Go to the nearest ER right now. She's like, your creatinine's 22. She said, you only have a couple weeks. Like, you keep messing around like this, you don't get to the hospital. You got a couple weeks to live.
Wow.
And I started talking to Miliani, and, it's not easy to ask somebody you love for a kidney. I never asked her, but it's not easy to take it.
Yeah.
You don't want to put somebody you love through a surgery. It's, even though there's a lot of data that it's safe, but it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, you think you're just going to ride it out and let nature take its course. But when it comes time to actually, you're getting there, you start to change your mind. I wasn't ready to. I mean, it's hell. Like, you can feel when you're not eating, and like, I could feel my body shutting down. So I knew it was time.
Were you on a lot of gear at that point?
Well, just trying to find an excuse.
Not really, because I was too tired to even load it up and do it. I would go to the gym one day and have a complete shitty workout. It would take me 5 days to recover to even have enough energy to go back. Wow. So I wasn't really, but earlier on, yeah, when I was still, but at the end, no, it wasn't even worth it.
Okay. Wow.
I'm glad you said that, Beau, by the way, because you touched on an important subject, I think, which is this feeling of remorse, or that you took someone else's kidney and stuff, which I think one of the things that's affecting Bostin also.
I won't do it. Yeah.
It's and what, I never thought about it until it was time, but it's a hard decision, man. You don't want to do that. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to ask Ariella to go have a surgery she doesn't need. It's not something you really do to somebody you love.
But Ariella,
and two, I would never have gotten on the list and taken a kidney from some honest person who, wants to live a Joe Blow life and go about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never would have done that either. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like what I did is different because Miliani knows me. We've been together almost 9 years now. She knows what's important to me. She knows what makes me tick and what I love. So she was fine with it, but I wouldn't do that with anybody else.
Mm. Interesting. So I've also been trying to convince Bostin, since I felt he was hesitant to think about getting a kidney transplant here. I've been trying to convince him to look at South America or India or something like that.
He told me he's going to Bangladesh. I watched a Netflix special on trafficking, and he's going to Bangladesh.
You're going to have a Bengali kidney. Your kidney's going to speak a different language than the rest of your body.
There's a whole village there where these brokers come, and like a guy with a family will sell his kidney, and then that way he can buy a taxi, and he supports his family with the taxi. But like, the broker will say, hey, I will give you 10 grand. And then they end up giving the guy 2 grand. Oh. And the broker pockets the rest. And you should see these hospitals on the show. I don't want them cutting me open in Bangladesh.
Yeah, man, I'll do my research on that. I don't think I'll be doing that option. Fuck that.
That's the big problem. Bostin was asking me, he's like, you think they could ship the kidney here and I could do the surgery here? Or do I have to go to that place and die potentially?
Because when you're on the list and say kidney comes in from a car accident or something, and you're next up on the list, they call you, and it doesn't matter if you're on vacation on the other side of the country. Like, you have to you have to be there.
Interesting.
Within a certain amount of time for that. Like, you just can't leave a kidney lady, sitting around waiting. Like, you have to get there and do it.
Well, Beau, I really.
So there's no way you could get a kidney there and come here and do it.
I'm still suspicious. I mean, it couldn't last a day even. I wonder. I don't know. Anyway, I know too little too.
You know, there's such a dumb rumor. Did you hear back? This is a couple years ago. One of those stupid things written on the internet and it took off. But when Rami was still at Oxygen Gym, they said that Bader had a refrigerator full of kidneys. And
I've never heard of that.
and that they were promised to Rami and Rolly and everybody that, you know, if they just follow the program, if anything happens, they have the organs lined up for them. And somehow this stupid shit took off and people were like, oh, did you hear about they got the kidneys in the refrigerator at Oxygen?
Well, there are a lot of rumors from there also. I think some of them are true though, like the IV stuff.
I have a good friend that spent a lot of time there training people. And honestly, I mean, it's just basic shit, but it's just 24/7, like a boot camp. Like you're like say you join the military and it's boot camp. It's just train, eat, you go, they have the rooms right there by like, so that's really nothing special. I mean, do they have a ton of gear? Yeah, of course. But
the best thing they do there, man, is they have all the gourmet meals for you. All the food is tastes good. It's fresh. It's all like organic. And then on top of that, they do all your shots for you while you play video games.
Oh, really? That's fantastic.
They come in. I do know that. I do know you'll play video games, and they come in with a few people and they bang out all your shots while you play. And you don't even feel it and you're done. So I don't think they're doing anything crazy, but it's just the luxury of having everything at your fingertips.
And it's stress-free. Like Brandon Curry, he has 4 kids. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's a great family guy. I'm sure he loves his kids, but it's a lot of stress. 4 kids running around screaming.
I heard he had 6 kids.
6? Okay, so if you can just be there in peace and quiet, eating, and take a nap, and then go to, you know, it's a lot more conducive to your goal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I heard they use IV insulin or not IV insulin, but IV glucose when they take insulin. I've heard a lot of different things, and also
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and also the gear is better quality there, so I guess that does play a role in it.
They have the peritoneal dialysis. Are you familiar with that?
I was reading about it today. Actually.
It's crazy, right? It uses your own stomach lining.
Very interesting.
To clean the blood. Yeah, but they use to do that. They pump you full of dextrose.
Oh, interesting.
The solution is dextrose. Yeah. So when originally I was thinking about trying to do that, like find a way to use insulin to take advantage of all of that dextrose, but that was it's something that goes through your mind. But
that's fucking hilarious. You never told me that.
What a legendary character! I see why you guys get along.
Because I was thinking that like I could do, you know, because they typically do it overnight. So I was thinking you pump yourself full of that dextrose with the long acting Slim. You wake up and go to the gym first thing in the morning.
He thought there were gains left on the table.
But I told Bostin not to do that because people end up having a lot of blood sugar issues.
You told me your friend got fat on that.
What's that?
You told me your buddy got fat on that one.
Yeah, he got fat on it.
I guess, hey, how about if that's like the new anabolic thing? Take a bunch of growth hormone and insulin post-workout with that kind of dialysis. I'll give it a try. I would be down. Can you switch from that one to hemo if you wanted to?
Well, with the hemo, the thing is, like, I couldn't even, when they put the fistula in you, it takes like 3 months for it to form before you can use it. Like it has to fuse with your vein. So I just had the one in my chest. I never even got around to doing the fistula.
Oh, interesting.
I only did dialysis for 5 months, and I was going through the evaluation, and it was looking good. So there was no point in me doing the fistula because once it's in there for life. So I wasn't going to need it. So I just kept with the chest cath.
Well, does it look really bad, the fistula?
Yeah, you get varicose veins. It's going to fuck up your forearm. It's remember that big dude, Marco? So he's from the 90s. He was huge, like from Finland.
I never heard of him.
Is he the
huge guy? Crazy arms. I'll just send you a picture later. He was on dialysis a long time. Now his arms are all fucked up. The vascularity's terrible.
Can you do the nocturnal one with the chest?
You don't want to do that. I mean, Don Long looked good. He wore like a cover over his when he competed, like a brace.
Oh, I've seen that.
He covered up his fistula.
Yeah, it's true.
You saw him on stage with it? Yeah, you can see it on stage on his forearm.
Yeah.
But no, he looked good. I mean, he looked amazing on Dialysis, I think. And he said he felt good.
Yeah,
he was actually very helpful. I don't know him, but I wrote him when I started Dialysis, asking him questions.
Yeah, I messaged him when you told me that story, and he was super helpful, and he told me he felt fine on it. But I was wondering if you could do the nocturnal one with just the chest, because I know a guy on dialysis who's been on dialysis for 3 years, and he just does the chest one.
Oh, really?
Dude, that chest, when they were bitching at me for having it for 5 months, I go straight into your heart.
Wow.
So you're not even supposed to shower.
Wow.
I mean, I showered. I covered up, and it was a real hassle. But a lady at my clinic got an infection from getting tap water in hers.
Wow.
You don't want to mess with that. That chest catheter is a pain.
You got to train with that shit? Holy shit.
I popped the stitches out doing pull downs. Like my first week, the stitches popped out of the catheter doing pull downs. I had to put it back in.
Oh,
but you don't feel it.
This is really not going to be fun at all.
I
actually want a catheter because I want it to be easier to do. I want one on my forearms.
Yeah, I don't like the forearm, man. It just messes up your forearm.
Well, anywhere. I just want one so that I can do IV injections at a clinic or whatever, but I don't have to poke my veins each time, because it damages the,
that was the best thing. Having the port like that is all the medicine they give you, the EPO, when they draw the blood. Cause as dumb as it sounds, I can't stand needles now.
Oh, shit. So I can IV my shit now.
I hate needles.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, when you have that, you can.
Well, I can IV my GH, my insulin through the thing.
The port is there. Now you have total access.
Yeah, that might be worth it just by itself.
I know. I was thinking about that, to be honest. I want IVs injections daily.
But I can put some test suspension in there, like some.
Okay, guys, one last thing though. I was gonna end it, but I think that Beau would have good answers to some of these questions. Some are specific to Boston. Usually we do a Q&A at the end of the episode, but some of these I really think Beau would have good answers to also, and I think it would be good to have both of you guys there. So it's not just me and Boston, because I don't have any good answers to this stuff, most of the bodybuilding questions. But I'll start from the top though. So you have time, right, Beau? Like just a few.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I'll start from the top.
No rush.
We had a couple of people from YouTube comment on the last one. So one of them was Pete Rubish. Do you know Pete Rubish, Boston? He's a powerlifter.
He has a good following.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He asked a question to you. He said, what is Boston's favorite cheat meal? And does he ever max out his lifts?
I never max out my lifts. And my favorite cheat meal would be Denny's at night. Like either a big pasta with meatballs and cheese or like a big breakfast in the morning if I do it in the morning. But Denny's for sure is my favorite cheat because they have so much variety. And then no, I don't max out.
Well, I'm glad they asked this question. We had no idea that you'd have such a weird response. What Denny's of all places? Oh wait, Denny's. Beau, what's your answer? Beau, what's your favorite cheat meal?
Probably Cheesecake Factory.
Okay, that's legitimate.
More so for the dessert than the actual food.
Okay, that's legitimate.
And max out, never. I never. Well, I have a torn pec, and since then I do a lot of high volume. But before that, I trained more just like heavy progressive overload, but never less than like 4 or 5 reps. I would never in my life done 1 rep, 2 reps of anything.
Oh, you've never done
it? No,
oh, really?
I just want to be big. I was very strong when I was younger, but my goal was just to build muscle.
But why Denny's, Boston? I don't understand.
Well, it's funny that Beau said that. I went to Cheesecake Factory for Valentine's Day because that's Ariella's favorite place. Dude, have you been to Denny's? They have the best selection. No,
their food is just
When's the last time you've been to Denny's?
Denny's is horrible. I used to order Denny's all the time in downtown LA.
I don't know. Maybe your Denny's out there sucks, but I tell you what.
That's true. It could suck.
I will eat Denny's all day.
The last time I went there, I ordered this sandwich. It's called the Super Bird. And it's supposed to come on like this big roll. I don't know the exact name of the bread. And when I got there, the waiter had to go out in the parking lot. The cook was out in this car smoking weed.
Yeah.
So then the piece of shit comes stumbling into the store. I didn't look at my food until I got back in the car. And instead of the big, like, fat bun, he just put it on some white bread.
Yeah, that's a problem with Denny's. You get a bunch of crackheads where.
I haven't been back since.
All right. You know Desktop Bodybuilding, Boston?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Desktop Bodybuilding asks, his name's Xavier. He asks, looking back, have you ever felt as though you influenced more teens to use PEDs? Or do you think you helped by explaining what to do and what not to do?
I'm sure there were some teens that were, did high dosages because they heard some of my videos. But I think majority of them, first of all, they can't afford it. And second of all, I think a lot of them got scared. I've had people, message me saying, thank you for coming out with those cycles because it scared me. So I think it works on both spectrums.
That's true. You actually scared people away. That's Beau, what do you think of Boston's influence on bodybuilding, which was really quite big, actually?
I'll tell you how big his influence was. In 2015, he asked me about helping him with his diet. And being the dumbass that I was so concerned about, just the typical bodybuilder. I was so concerned about my own workout. Because you know how many coaches would love to train him just for the publicity?
Yeah.
I mean, people beg him all the time. All the top coaches have asked him.
Yeah.
So, just me, hell, all I wanted to do was get my own meals in and train. So I sent him exactly what I did to the T, no lying. But I should have said, yeah, let's do this. I would have loved to have tried to make some progress with him. He made one post about me, and within a week, I had close to 30 people sign up. I mean, and I know there are coaches with like 100, 200, but for 1 week, 30 people, and that's all, and they were all because of Boston.
I remember that post.
Excuse me.
So his reach is huge, and like I said in the beginning, he was a little crazy, but he was young, and he's learned as he's went along. He's matured a lot. In the past, he's had like kind of words or feuds with people, and now he's friends with those people. So, he's learned a lot as the years gone by, and he's a great coach. I've seen a lot of pictures of the people that he helps, and these aren't genetically gifted people. They're always in shape. He was always in shape every time he's competed. So Boston's a very knowledgeable person. I'm not just, I'm not saying that because I'm on here with him, but I like the guy. He's a good guy.
I appreciate that, Beau.
No problem, man.
Yeah, I never thought of Boston's influence as being particularly negative. I mean, for people, before Boston ever started making videos on YouTube, since 2002, I was online by myself in a weird country trying to figure out what do pros really take. Everybody was trying to figure that out. Boston didn't start that. The difference is that Boston discovered a lot more than other people and reported on it. So everyone was trying to find out what are the real doses, or are the doses higher? It's not Boston that told people, no, the doses must be higher, but he found out details and reported on it. And he has a magnetic personality. So he pulled people sort of toward him. And I guess that's where the influence came. But it wasn't, in my view, it wasn't a negative influence. And not only that, it was also mostly true, which is, I think a lot of people since Rich Piana passed and since all these things happened, there's been sort of a misinformation where people have been trying to spread the opposite information. Like, no, we all take 500 grams of milligrams of testosterone. It was all BS. Boston's a crazy guy. Tony Hughes, they're insane people. They made up all this stuff, and we actually don't even use steroids. They almost went to that direction. So, and the truth is this, even if, for example, individuals like Lee Priest, for example, always says he used low doses or whatever, even if somebody used 800 milligrams of test, if that's all they used, they would have done better at a gram. And this is sort of what Boston pointed out. Obviously, there's the diminishing marginal returns, and obviously not everybody can get to the same level. But within one person, there will be a point where raising the doses will be better. And I think that's what Boston taught people.
There are some people like Lee. I don't know Lee, but I actually believe Lee. I
started believing Lee also.
I believe Lee.
It's hard not to.
Look at those arms. I mean, I know there's no oil on those arms. He had fucking arms at 12 years old that would rival a national level competitor. He's a freak of nature. And I know a few other people like that. And I don't take people for their word. Like, there are a few people I know who I know what they do because I've spent time around them. I've seen what they do. And there are some people who really don't use a lot of stuff, and they're at the top of the top. But it's not like you can't make a blanket statement. There are also people at the top who are fucking maniacs and like mega dosing, So it really varies.
I believe you on Lee Priest. I think he's a genetic freak, and only being 5'0". I mean, you could pack on so much on that frame. I do believe that he's telling the truth.
I believe him 100%.
But I believe him also, but I think if he used more, he would have done better. That's the other.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And not like a ton, but just a
little bit better, a little bit bigger.
Because conditioning is better in the glutes and hams.
Yeah. So Rowan Davis asks for your thoughts, Bostin, on Patrick Tuor and his methods. Now we ranked him as overrated, but what are his methods and what do you think of them?
Okay, so I've seen his programs, or I have them on my computer. They're very complex. Like he's very complicated. He makes you measure your sodium every meal. Every meal you have to measure out your sodium. You have to measure out, certain this. He has you take natural supplements in between meals with your meals, like a lot of shit. You might be interested in the programs because there's so much natural fucking herbal shit in between meals. Do this. So basically, you can't even have a job if you were to follow his program 100%. No way you can have a job. And all you have to do is go to his average clients that tag him and shit, and they all look like water buffaloes. And then he has a few genetic guys that he posts that look good. You have to look at the people that are not genetic elite and who he helps, because he's like, we'll take everyone that's doing well, like his guys like Ian Valair. He's already been a great bodybuilder for years before Patrick even knew of him. So he posts these guys, and then his average guys look like shit.
But I'm not against complexity, but what are his weird methods? I mean, other than the supplements, does he do other weird stuff?
I'll find his stuff. Yeah, the gear cycles are pretty weird.
But the gear is weird too. How is it weird?
Very lower testosterone, higher other drugs.
Oh, interesting. Beau, have you heard much about him?
I know the name. I don't know much about him, but to be honest, I think coaches in general are way overrated. I just keep everything simple. I mean, especially if you're a guy getting ready for your first show, you're doing a state show. Do you really need to hire a coach? I mean, it's not rocket science, We all eat the same foods. Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error. You're going to have to find out how many carbs, if you're more of a carb guy or fat guy. Protein's going to be high regardless. But I think everybody should at least try it on their own for a while, build up a base. And then as you advance, maybe you're going to the nationals. And yeah, then it's a good idea, to get somebody to help you peak. But these coaches aren't like taking people from scratch and making them monsters. They're just like it's fine tuned. I think the client does all the work. The coach last 2 weeks, couple weeks for the show, they fine tune and peak you for the show.
That's that thing that annoys me. And that's why I don't even like to post my clients is like, most of these guys have been training for years and years and years, either under another coach or whatever. And then these coaches will take them on for a few weeks and start posting them like it's their work. I can't stand that stuff. Like I'll only post a client if I've been with him like 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean? And like consistently he's been with me. Cause like, I feel like if you just get a client that's genetically a freak and you just post his shit and he already looks good, I mean, that's false advertising.
I mean, you can always learn more. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's always a ton more information you can learn. But if you're 30 years old and you have huge, crazy striated legs, do you really need somebody standing over you counting reps on a leg press? Like,
no.
You don't know how to do the leg press?
Yeah,
it doesn't really make sense. Like you could do that on your own and save $100 an hour instead of paying the guy.
The in-person training in the gym, I think is a joke. I would never.
The stuff where they touch you, where they touch your muscle while you're doing it, and like, I don't know what that even means. What can you
feel it? Do you feel it?
He's like reminding you, like, this is the muscle you're doing, by the way.
Really, I think intensity, I don't even think you can teach that. I think either you have it or you don't.
To some degree, that might be true.
Yeah. Now there are exceptions. Like somebody like Oscar Ardon, if you go train with him, he's going to fucking kill you. I mean, maybe you're not a hard trainer. He's going to make you a hard trainer. Or he's going to kick you out of the gym. So that can be beneficial for you because he will bring the best out of you. That's like one exception I can think of.
Have you trained with Oscar?
Huh?
Have you trained with him?
Yeah, twice. He beat me to fucking death, man. I did legs, no lie. Not do high volume on legs anyhow. When I left, I went out to my car parked in front of his house, and I couldn't drive. I sat in my car for like an hour, And then I drove halfway home and I stopped at a CVS and rested in the parking lot there. But then I started thinking, I was like, okay, that workout's good, but I'm too nauseous. I can't even eat my next 2 meals. Like, how is this productive? Because I'm going to skip all my food today because I'm too sick, you know. But I'm sure you get used to it over time.
That's a big reason why Kai left him. He felt like he was overtrained.
I mean, well, and too, though, I was 40 years old. You know what I'm saying? I was a little old to be trying to do stuff like that. If you're 25 and just getting started, I think you can make great gains with him.
Well, he's made a major improvement in Akeem, right?
Yeah, big.
You introduced him to DNP. That's why.
You think so? You know, this reminds me of a funny story. When I was in high school, I used to do West Side Barbell, and I was like very serious about it. You're telling me like intensity is born, not made. I guess it was born in me because I was taking it too seriously. I didn't have a coach or even anyone in the gym with me. I was like 16 years old. I went to do the maximum effort squat day. I was squatting at the time. My squat was around 500 or 450 or something like that. After I left the gym, my legs were so exhausted. I got in my car and drove home, but I had to drive 30 minutes home. And along the way, I was in traffic and I was not falling asleep or anything. It's just that my legs were so tired that I was no longer able to properly like press the brake and press the gas. And at one point I just couldn't press the brake and I just hit the car in front of me. Like slowly too. We were like, I just hit him. And he's like, what's going on? I was like, I just worked out. I'm sorry. This is. And the funny thing is I wasn't allowed to drive. I didn't have a driver's license. I was too young. So it was illegal driving, squatting, and hitting another car. Anyways.
Leo, are you familiar with that guy from West Side, Luke Edwards? He's had 2 kidney transplants and he keeps coming back to compete.
Wow, no, I haven't. I'll write that down.
He's had 2 that failed and he's on dialysis now looking for a 3rd one.
Oh my God, that's the guy you sent me his Instagram.
Yeah, I sent that too.
Wow, I'm going to read about that. That's shocking. Thanks for telling me. One last question. So Adam Hearn asks, how do you make the most out of the fewest number of cycles? So I think a lot of people have this idea they're natural and they probably, Adam isn't like this, but a lot of people like watch Greg Doucette or things like that. And then they think, can I do a cycle and retain the gains and get close to my maximum limit? So I think that's what he's thinking about, but I don't know. It could be something else.
You want to take that, Bostin?
Yeah, I mean, to get the max at the most minimal cycles, I mean, that's a hard question to answer because I feel like you can't just run a cycle and come off and just be like, fine. You know what I mean? I feel like bodybuilding is you got to consistently, if you want to improve, you got to consistently, you could cycle off and on, but you can't just take a couple cycles and just say, oh, you know, I'm good to go. So I don't know. My big thing is continuing to change cycles every 6 to 8 weeks. And then after like 24 weeks, you take a break on like a TRT. But a lot of these coaches, I don't know how Beau is, but a lot of these guys are not coming off at all. They're doing more like TRT blast and cruise, which I feel like is more beneficial. But, you know, then you guys got like Dave with guys like Dave Palumbo saying it's more beneficial to come completely off. So I don't know. To
starve the androgen receptor. Yeah. What do you think, Beau?
If you're going to do, so this guy's saying like he wants to do like 2 or 3 cycles and quit.
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
A waste of time. Even afterwards, let's say you do a good PCT, you stay strict on your diet, eating hard. As time goes on, you're going to lose what you gained, especially depending on his genetics. You know, if he's got some decent genetics, he maybe hold on to some more. But it's just, it's artificial. If you're not supporting it. And
you know what I thought? My experience was that if you use steroids long enough or you get big enough or strong enough, it takes years though, like a couple of years or so. You get to a level where even if you get completely natural, you still gain muscle better than you did before. You can notice that. Like I'm at that level. I don't work out, but if I did, I'm sure I would gain muscle and my muscle would look a little bit different and I would be a little bit stronger than I was naturally. But that took years for that to happen. Right. And for that to happen, you have to have really endangered your natural testosterone production. So by the time you go off testosterone, you may have those long-term changes, but now your test level is way low. So, you know, you have that issue. And anyway, in general, I think that if you did too short of a cycle, you wouldn't even get those long-term major changes. You would get, you know what I mean?
Longer is better because let's say this guy gets up, I don't know what his starting weight is. Say he gets up to 240. and it's a short cycle, so it gets up to 240. Shortly after that, he comes off. Weight's going to go back down.
Right back.
He gets up to 240, and he maintains that for 6 months. He just keeps going. Now that weight is stuck to that weight. His body is accustomed to that weight. He's walked around with that weight. He's trained with that weight. He's built more muscle due to that weight. So he's going to be at a higher body weight even off because it was an extended amount of time.
Yeah, that's another thing you're talking about also, which is that when you gain muscle, like you can keep it easier. But I'm also talking about even if you lost muscle, I could regain muscle easier just because I was that strong at one point, or I was
muscle memory.
Yeah. Sure. So both things, but basically we're all agreeing that you can't like use short cycles, get to your limit, and then
I think it would be dumb because then you're going to crash your natural testosterone levels and you're not going to get the benefits of the actual cycle. So yeah, I think it's dumb.
He's probably going to get depressed and not even go back to the gym after he loses the weight.
That's true. That's really what's probably going to happen. They're going to do a cycle and then get bored. Also, you're going to get bored because once you go into the gym after the cycle, you're going to realize how boring it is to train not on testosterone.
Well, that's another. When I quit originally for that first year, I wanted to quit because of the blood pressure spike, even though, it's like a 1 hour, 2 hour thing. I wanted to take all pressure off the kidney, but I like to train. I want to train. I was going in there and I felt like I'm just a dude working out.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
I actually cried. I went for like 2 weeks. I cried the last day I was in the gym. I was like, fuck it. I'll be back next year. And I was crying and I just left.
I mean, I didn't have as bad of a situation as you, but that's one of the reasons I don't work out is because I can't.
There's no point.
It's like 2 years later, but I'm like, what's the point of it if I can't lift something serious,
You want to deadlift what you used to, like you want to do the thing that you used to do. Yeah.
Deadlifting would be embarrassing. Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, training's fun, but it's fun when you're doing it that certain way,
Exactly. Which is a good reason for people not to use steroids and then go off, because you'll have that amazing experience and then you'll lose interest.
Right.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Beau, for joining us today.
No problem, man.
I really appreciate it. I'd like to have you on again if you'd be willing.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. Let me know.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you. By the way, Boston, we have more questions for next time as well.
People are going to like that episode for sure.
Yeah, it was really, even me, I learned a lot.
Well, we had a few people in the comments asking for Beau too.
Oh yeah, last time. That's true. Yeah. Oh, and we should remind everyone, check out Boston's forum, which is a very useful forum. Support Boston there. And Beau, are you on Instagram?
I just have my Instagram, my name, first and last name. Oh, okay. Shit. I got a cramp. Sorry.
You've got burps and a cramp. So I'll add your Instagram to the thing so everyone can see it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just my first and last name.